My brother spread lies that turned the entire family against me and they abandoned me for 10 years. So I became a billionaire Texio, changed my last name, and when they all went bankrupt and tracked me down desperate I had security escort. If you love true stories that touch the heart, subscribe and drop a hi with your location. We'd love to know where our family is growing from. Now let's continue. I was 23 when my world shattered over Sunday dinner. My brother Ethan pointed his fork at me across Mama's table and said the words that would exile me from my own family. She stole the $15,000 from Grandma's account. The room went silent. Greens stopped steaming. Sweet potato pie sat forgotten. Every eye turned to me. Mama, Daddy, my sisters Oakland and Annabella, Uncle Ray, Aunt Carol, even my grandmother herself, oxygen tube whistling softly. What? My voice cracked. I didn't, Ethan, why would you? Don't lie. Ethan slammed the table, his face twisted with manufactured righteousness. I saw the bank statements. Transactions from her laptop. She thought nobody would notice while Grandma was in the hospital. My hands trembled. I'd been helping Grandma pay her bills during her pneumonia recovery, yes. She'd given me her banking password. But steal? Never. Mama, I swear on everything. Enough. Daddy's voice cut like January wind. His eyes, usually warm as summer evenings, had turned to stone. The evidence doesn't lie, baby girl. Ethan showed us everything. What evidence? Let me see. Get out. Grandma's voice was barely a whisper, but it struck like thunder. The woman who'd raised me through chicken pox and heartbreaks, who taught me to code on her old desktop, now looked at me like I was a stranger. I want you out of my house. Please. Tears blurred my vision. Just let me explain. But Ethan was already holding the door open, a smile playing at his lips that nobody else could see. You heard her. Leave. If you're enjoying this story, please hit that subscribe button. This tale gets absolutely wild. The evidence Ethan presented the next day destroyed me. Somehow he'd fabricated bank records showing transfers to an account under my name. Screenshots of emails I'd never written. Even text messages I'd supposedly sent Grandma, promising to handle everything while she was sick. I tried to fight back. These are fake. Look at the metadata. But my family wasn't interested in metadata. They'd already convicted me in their hearts. Oakland blocked my number. Annabella posted on social media about snake sisters who steal from the elderly. Daddy packed my belongings in garbage bags and left them on the porch. When I showed up sobbing at Uncle Ray's door, he wouldn't even open it. You broke your grandmother's heart, he said through the chain lock. There's no coming back from that. I slept in my beat-up Honda that night, parked behind the mall where I'd worked retail since high school. The security guard knocked on my window at 2 a.m. You can't stay here, miss. I have nowhere else to go. He looked uncomfortable. I'm sorry. Boss's orders. That's when I understood. I was truly alone. The family that had gathered every Sunday for 30 years, that had celebrated every birthday and mourned every loss together, had erased me like a typo. I thought about what Grandma had taught me about computers, about the tech scholarship I'd turned down to stay close to home and help with her medical bills. My laptop sat in one of those garbage bags. I opened it. The screen's glow lit my tear-stained face. If my family wanted me gone, I'd disappear. But I wouldn't disappear quietly. I'd disappear spectacularly. I started coding that night. My first app would change everything. 10 months later, I sat in a cramped studio apartment, surviving on ramen and dollar store coffee, but my app, Quick Connect, had just hit 100,000 downloads. It solved a problem I'd noticed while helping Grandma. Elderly people needed simpler video calling technology. Ethan hadn't just stolen my family. He'd pushed me into the fire that forged me into steel. I'd changed my last name legally to Monroe. Mama's maiden name, a final ghost of my old identity. June Johnson died the day my family abandoned me. June Monroe was born with nothing to lose. Miss Monroe. My tiny office phone rang. A venture capitalist from the East Coast. We've been watching Quick Connect. We'd like to discuss a seed investment. My hands shook as I wrote down the figures. $2 million for 20% equity. 2 years ago I couldn't have imagined such numbers. Now they represented survival. There's one condition, he said. We want you to pivot. Target businesses, not just consumers. The underlying technology, it's revolutionary. I thought of Grandma's face when she'd called me a thief. The coldness in Daddy's eyes. Ethan's hidden smirk. Let's do it, I said. That decision transformed everything. Within a year, Quick Connect became Quick Connect Enterprise. Within 2 years, Fortune 500 companies were using my platform. Within 5 years, I was on Forbes' 30 Under 30 list. I never forgot what drove me. Some nights, I'd drive past my old neighborhood, watching the houses where my former life happened. I saw Daddy's car in the driveway. Oakland's kids' toys in the yard. They had no idea who June Monroe was. And I intended to keep it that way. Year 6 brought an unexpected email. Ms. Monroe, you don't know me, but I was your brother Ethan's girlfriend. We need to talk. Her name was Janelle. We met at a coffee shop downtown far from my old neighborhood. She was nervous, picking at her napkin. Ethan told me something when he was drunk last week, she began. He was laughing about it, said it was the smartest thing he'd ever done. My coffee turned cold in my hands. He framed you. Janelle's eyes filled with tears. That money your grandmother lost? Ethan took it. He was gambling. Thousands of dollars gone. When she noticed, he panicked and blamed you. He hacked your laptop, created fake records, even paid someone to forge those emails. The room tilted. 6 years of pain, ambition, and rage crystallized into a single burning point. Why are you telling me this? Because I have a daughter now. I can't be with a man who'd destroy his own sister. He's bragging about it, June. He's proud. She slid a folder across the table. I copied everything. His real bank statements. Receipts from the forgery. Screenshots of him admitting it in text to his friends. It's all here. I stared at the evidence that could vindicate me. My hands trembled with the weight of it. What will you do? Janelle asked. I thought about the years of rebuilding myself from nothing. The loneliness. The nights I'd cried myself to sleep in my car. The family dinners I'd missed, the nieces and nephews I'd never met. Nothing, I said finally. Not yet. Janelle looked confused, but I understood something she didn't. Revenge served cold isn't just colder. It's calculated, precise, devastating. I had bigger plans than simple vindication. By year 8, Quick Connect Enterprise had gone public. The IPO made me a billionaire at 31 years old. Tech magazines called me the mysterious genius who revolutionized digital communication. Nobody connected me to the Johnson family from that working-class neighborhood across town. I bought a penthouse downtown with floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking the city. The view cost more than my entire childhood home. Some mornings I'd stand there with my coffee, looking at the skyline I now owned a piece of, and wonder if my family ever thought about me. My assistant Rachel knocked on my office door one afternoon. Miss Monroe, there's a situation. Someone's been trying to reach you through various channels. Calling the office, messaging on LinkedIn, even showing up at the building lobby. Who? She says she's your sister. Oakland Johnson. My heart lurched. 8 years of silence and now this. What does she want? Rachel hesitated. She says it's an emergency. Family emergency. I almost laughed. Family. That word had lost its meaning the day they threw me away. Tell security to remove her from the premises if she returns. And block all communications from anyone with the Johnson surname. Rachel looked uncomfortable but nodded. Yes, ma'am. That night, curiosity got the better of me. I hired a private investigator to look into my family's current situation. What he found was almost poetic. Daddy had lost his job 2 years ago. The plant where he'd worked for 30 years shut down. Mama's medical bills from her diabetes were drowning them. Oakland was 3 months behind on her mortgage. Annabella's husband had left her with 2 kids and no child support. And Ethan's gambling had finally caught up with him. The PI's report painted a devastating picture. Ethan had borrowed money from dangerous people, the kind who don't accept excuses. He'd already lost his car, his apartment, and was living in Mama and Daddy's basement, the same basement where I used to practice coding into the early morning hours. Your father took out a second mortgage to pay Ethan's debts, the investigator explained, sliding documents across my desk. He's going to lose the house. They're 3 months from foreclosure. I studied the numbers with the same analytical precision I brought to board meetings. The house where I'd learned to ride a bike. Where Grandma had taught me to make her famous peach cobbler. Where Ethan had destroyed my life over Sunday dinner. And my grandmother? Nursing home. Medicaid. Not a nice facility from what I could see. That hurt more than I expected. Grandma in some state-funded nursing home alone, while I lived in luxury she couldn't imagine. Miss Monroe. The investigator's voice was gentle. I have to ask, what are you planning to do with this information? I stood walking to my window. The city sprawled beneath me, glittering with possibilities and power. Keep monitoring them. I want weekly updates. Over the next 3 months, I watched my family's desperation grow through reports and surveillance photos. Annabella had started a GoFundMe that raised barely $300. Daddy was working 3 part-time jobs. Mama sold her wedding ring. And then came the call I'd been waiting for. Miss Monroe, Rachel said carefully. You have visitors in the lobby. They're consistent. They say they know you're June Johnson. I straightened my blazer, checked my reflection and smiled. Send them up. They looked smaller than I remembered. Mama's hair had gone completely gray. Daddy walked with a limp from his new job as a warehouse loader. Oakland and Annabella hung back, shame written across their faces. And Ethan looked terrified. But it was Grandma in her wheelchair, oxygen tank beside her, that made my carefully constructed armor crack slightly. Baby girl. Mama's voice broke. Is it really you? I stood behind my massive desk, the city glittering behind me through the window. My suit cost more than their monthly mortgage payment. My watch could have covered their utilities for a year. I prefer Ms. Monroe in professional settings, I said coolly. To what do I owe this surprise visit? Daddy stepped forward, hat literally in his hands. June, sweetheart, we made a terrible mistake. We know that now. Do you? I leaned back in my leather chair. What specifically was the mistake? Believing I was a thief? Throwing me out? Or never once in 8 years wondering if you'd been wrong? We saw the evidence. Oakland started. Fabricated evidence. I cut her off. I've known the truth for 2 years. A woman named Janelle was kind enough to provide me with proof of Ethan's fraud. Every fake document. Every forged email. Every lie. Ethan went pale. June, I can explain. Don't. My voice could have frozen lava. I don't want your explanations. I want to know why you're here. The silence stretched painfully. Finally, Mama spoke. We're losing everything. The house, our savings, everything. We heard you were successful and we thought, we hoped. You hoped I'd save you. I finished her sentence. The daughter you called a thief. The sister you blocked and slandered online. The granddaughter you threw away like garbage. Grandma wheeled herself forward slightly, her breathing labored. I was wrong, baby. I was sick, confused, and I trusted the wrong person. But you're my grandbaby. I taught you better than to hold grudges. That cut deeper than anything else could. You taught me better than to abandon family too. But here we are. Please, Annabella whispered. My kids are going to lose their home. They're 8 and 10. They don't deserve this. I was 23. Did I deserve it? Ethan finally spoke, his voice shaking. I'll confess. I'll tell everyone what I did. I'll go to the police, I'll make it public, whatever you want. Just please help them. This isn't their fault. I studied him with clinical interest. You're absolutely right about one thing. This isn't their fault. It's yours. And you know what? They're still standing by you. Mama and Daddy are losing their house to pay your gambling debts. But when I needed them, they chose you without question. We believed the evidence. Daddy's voice rose. What were we supposed to think? You were supposed to know me. My voice cracked slightly despite my control. I spent 23 years being your daughter. I'd never stolen a dime in my life. I helped Grandma with her bills every single month. But one fake bank statement from your golden boy son, and you didn't even ask for my side. Rachel knocked quietly. Ms. Monroe, your 4 p.m. is waiting. I stood, smoothing my jacket. I'm afraid I have meetings. Security will escort you out. June, please. Mama was crying now. We're begging you. We're your family. I pressed the intercom. Security to the executive office, please. You've become cruel, Oakland said bitterly. Money changed you. I laughed. A harsh, brittle sound. No. You changed me. That night I couldn't sleep. I stood at my penthouse window watching the city lights blur through unexpected tears. My phone buzzed with a text from an unknown number. This is Janelle. I heard your family found you. Whatever you decide, you earned your peace. Don't let anyone steal it again. But peace felt impossible. I'd built an empire on the ashes of my old life, yet facing them brought everything flooding back. The betrayal, the loneliness, the nights I'd sobbed in my car wondering why I wasn't enough for them to believe in. My phone rang. Rachel, though it was nearly midnight. I'm so sorry to bother you, she said. But your grandmother collapsed in the lobby after you sent them away. The paramedics came. She's at Memorial Hospital. My hands went numb. Is she stable? But Ms. Monroe, they can't afford the treatment she needs. The hospital called asking about insurance, and apparently she's only covered for basic emergency care. I hung up and stared at my reflection in the dark window. The powerful CEO looked back at me, but underneath I could still see the 23-year-old girl sobbing in her Honda, homeless and heartbroken. Grandma had taught me to code. She'd encouraged my dreams when everyone else said I should be practical. She'd also been the one to call me a thief and order me out of her house. I called my attorney at 12:47 a.m. I need you to set up an anonymous medical trust. Full coverage for one patient at Memorial Hospital. They should never know where the funding comes from. Of course. May I ask? No. Just do it. I couldn't save them all. I wouldn't. But the woman who'd taught me to dream, even though she'd broken my heart, I couldn't watch her die. Even revenge has limits. 3 weeks later, I was in a board meeting when Rachel interrupted with a note. Your brother is in the building. Alone. He's asking to speak with you privately. Says it's not about money. I almost had security remove him immediately. But curiosity won. Ethan looked like he'd aged 20 years. His clothes hung loose, his eyes were hollow. He stood in my office doorway like a man at the gallows. 5 minutes, I said. I gave the evidence to the police. He spoke quickly, words tumbling out. Everything Janelle had plus more. I made a full confession about the forgery, the fraud, everything. They're opening an investigation. I kept my face neutral. Why would you do that? Because Grandma almost died and it's my fault. All of this, the foreclosure, the bankruptcy, you hating us, it's all my fault. His voice cracked. I was 25 and stupid and drowning in gambling debt. I panicked. I never thought you'd actually leave. I thought you'd defend yourself, we'd figure it out and I'd find a way to fix it quietly. But I did leave. And you let everyone keep believing I was a thief. I know. Tears streamed down his face. I know. And I've lived with it every single day. Watching Mama cry over losing you. Seeing Daddy's guilt eat him alive. Knowing it was my fault but being too cowardly to confess. So why now? Because Grandma's dying wish, before the collapse, was to see you again. And I realized I took 8 years of your life. I can't give them back, but I can at least give you the truth everyone should hear. The police investigation made local news within days. Texio's family fraud exposed, read the headlines. Reporters dug into the decade-old case of the Johnson family's stolen inheritance, now revealed to be an elaborate frame job by the son against his own sister. My phone exploded with calls. Old neighbors, high school friends, people wanting to apologize, to reconnect, to explain they'd always suspected something was off. Too little too late. But the one call I took was from Mama. They're charging Ethan, she sobbed. 3 to 5 years for fraud and forgery. June, I know we have no right to ask, but what? You want me to make this go away? I can't. He confessed. I know. I just wanted you to hear it from me. We failed you. Not because we believed the evidence, but because we didn't love you loudly enough that no evidence could shake us." Those words hit differently than I expected. "There's more," Mama continued. "The exposure brought attention to our situation. Some local charity is paying off our house. They won't say who funded it, but they're covering everything. The second mortgage, the foreclosure, all of it. The hospital says Grandma's treatment is fully covered too. Anonymous donor. That's good news." "June, was it you?" I didn't answer. Couldn't answer. "You saved us even after what we did to you," Mama whispered. "That's more grace than we deserved." "I didn't do it for you," I said quietly. "I did it because I'm not Ethan. I won't let innocent people suffer for someone else's sins, even when those people hurt me. Can we see you? Really see you, not just ambush you at your office?" I looked around my empire, the corner office, the success, the power. It all felt hollow suddenly. "I need time, Mama. Maybe someday." 6 months later, I stood outside the nursing home where Grandma had been transferred. A nice facility now, thanks to the anonymous trust. I'd watched from afar as my family rebuilt. Daddy working one good job instead of 3 bad ones, Mama's health improving with proper medication, my sisters stabilizing their lives. And Ethan, awaiting sentencing, had become the family pariah I'd once been. "You came." Grandma's voice was stronger now, her oxygen tube removed. Her eyes were clear when I walked into her room. "I came. Sit, baby girl. Let me look at you." I sat, this powerful CEO reduced to a nervous grandchild. "You look just like me at your age," she said softly. "Determined. Hurt. Building walls high enough to keep the world out. You taught me to protect myself. I taught you to be strong, not stone." She took my hand with her papery fingers. "What Ethan did was evil. What we did, believing him, was unforgivable. But what you're doing to yourself now, that's its own tragedy." "What am I doing?" "Succeeding at everything except living. You built an empire, baby, but you're living in it alone. No partner, no children of your own, no family dinners, no Sunday gatherings. You're punishing yourself by proving you don't need anyone." The words struck like physical blows. "But I don't need them. They proved that. Wrong. You needed them desperately and they failed you. So you decided to never need anyone again. But baby, that's not strength. That's just a different kind of dying." My throat tightened. "What do you want from me, Grandma? To forgive everyone and pretend it never happened?" "No. I want you to forgive yourself for still loving us. Despite everything." I broke then, tears flowing freely for the first time in years. 3 years later, I stood in the cemetery where Grandma was buried. She'd passed peacefully 6 months ago, surrounded by family, including me. The reconciliation had been slow, painful, imperfect. I'd gone to Sunday dinners but kept my emotional distance. I'd helped my sisters but never stayed late. I'd been present but protected. Ethan had served 18 months and was rebuilding his life with genuine remorse. We'd had one conversation, civil but cold. I told him I didn't forgive him, might never forgive him, but I wouldn't stand in the way of his redemption. My family had tried everything to close the gap I'd built. But the truth was I couldn't let them back in. Not fully. The betrayal had carved out something essential, left a wound that had scarred over but never truly healed. Today I placed flowers on Grandma's grave and read the letter I'd written but never sent. "You asked me to forgive myself for still loving you all. I've tried. I've gone to therapy, pushed myself to reconnect, forced myself to sit at tables with people who destroyed me. But here's what I learned. Some betrayals don't heal. They just become part of who you are. I became a billionaire. I built an empire. I proved everyone wrong. But I also lost something I can never get back. The ability to trust that the people who say they love me won't abandon me when it's convenient. You were right that I'm punishing myself. But you were wrong that I could stop. This loneliness isn't a choice anymore. It's who I became when you made me choose between being your family's thief or being nobody at all. I chose nobody. And nobody is who I remain, even in a room full of people who claim to love me now. So yes, I had security escort you out. Not because I'm cruel, but because I'm surviving the only way I know how, by keeping everyone at a distance where they can't destroy me again. I don't regret my success. But I regret that it came at the cost of ever believing in family again. Maybe that makes me bitter. Maybe that makes me broken. But it makes me safe. And after everything, safety is the only thing I have left. I folded the letter and walked away from the grave, my heels clicking on the cemetery path. My driver waited by the car. My phone buzzed with meeting notifications. My empire needed me. Family had made me a billionaire. And family had destroyed my ability to ever truly come home. That's the price of survival. And I pay it every single day. If this story resonated with you, please subscribe and share your thoughts in the comments. Have you ever experienced family betrayal? How did you rebuild? Your story matters too.